We're ready.
We're ready. All right, welcome everyone to our March meeting for the Board of Trustees for the Woodbridge Lake Library. So I'll call the meeting to order, and I will call roll to see that we have everyone here. Is Michael on yet?
He should be joining momentarily.
Okay.
I'll note when he joins the meeting, just so we have it for the minute.
Just let us, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Anna, Jen,
Present.
and Michael will be here, and we'll welcome Barb. She still has to go before the council to be approved as our fifth board member, but welcome Barb. And Jandy is here, of course.
Yep, I'm here.
And then I am here. So we're all good to go. I'll ask if we can have a motion to approve the meetings that were sent out with the agenda, unless there's any changes that someone would like to make.
I move we approve the minutes of the last month's meeting.
Okay,
I move.
second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. All right, those all in favor say, raise your hand. We'll have a show of hands. Okay, good. So it is approved. All right. So now we're on to, do we have anybody online, Jandy?
Not so far. Did we get the agenda approved or just the minutes?
We did it for the minutes. Okay, sorry, the agenda. Thank you.
Yes.
So now I gotta ask for the approval of the agenda. It's a pretty simple agenda today. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda for today's meeting. I second.
Okay, all those in favor, show of hands. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're all good to go on those things. So now I'll ask Jandy, do we have any citizens online?
I don't have any citizens online at this time.
Okay, but we'll still go through the formality of telling everybody, so I'll have you, Jandy, inform everybody what needs to be done.
Yes, so we have a chance for citizen comment at the beginning and the end of the meeting. What I'll have you do is if you're on Zoom, raise your hand and I'll call on you. If you're in chambers, I'll have you fill out one of these yellow sheets and then come up to the pulpit to speak. You have a 3-minute timeline. The board doesn't answer questions, but we will get back with you if we have any additional comments or questions for you.
All right, thank you. And no one's online yet. Okay. All right. So we are now on to reports, and I'm going to assume that we haven't heard from Michael yet.
He just texted me. I'm going to send him the Zoom link again.
Okay. We could go out of order with
Yeah.
our reports. Yeah. Everybody's okay with that? Okay, so Mark, you willing to go ahead and go first? Sure. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I've got a brief report, and it's essentially to give the board an update of the discussion that occurred on the March 4th council meeting. As you know, staff presented a work order under the umbrella of the Turner and Townsend Erie Master Services Agreement for the development of a library project. In order to develop, in the work order, it calls out 3 options. It's really 2 options. 2 and 3 are materially the same option. But a project at the Town Square site, option 1 is a library only, and option 2 is a combination of a library and community flex space. And so we just had the kickoff meeting for that on Monday. And so we expect to get a project plan and schedule from them sometime within the next couple of days. Update the board and the community with respect to the schedule, because a big piece of this effort is going to be public engagement to derive what the needs are that need to be incorporated into these conceptual designs. So that's the state that we're in now. And we'll continue to provide the board with information as we get deeper into the process, but obviously you're gonna be involved in that engagement and the conceptual development so that we can make sure that all bases are covered when we come back with whatever those final options are gonna be.
Does anyone have any questions for Mark? Mark, I have a question. Since this is a design element for the town square, do you know from any past history, has there ever been any vision for how town square would or should be built out when they purchased the land? Is there anything back in the archives that kind of gives some sort of an idea of what that vision would look like? I'm just curious.
So I don't know if there was ever a master concept when they purchased the land. There have been two proposals developed. One in 2007 that ended up on a 2008 ballot, and then one in 2016 that ended up on a 2016 and a 2017 ballot. All of those measures failed. And they were derivatives of themselves. That, there was a facility plan that included a library and some kind of space component for other things. And the 2016 vision included a large aquatic center. And so those are essentially the two master plans that have been developed for town square that I'm aware of, going back to 2007.
Okay. Just curious. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Jenny, has Michael joined us?
Yes, he's here.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, I'm really sorry I had a conflict at work, so finally able to join.
I'm glad you're here.
Anna, can you note on the minutes that Michael arrived at 1:06 and that he's here? Michael, would you mind doing your report next?
Is that regarding the city council?
Yes.
Yes, city council.
And Mark, have you already talked about this or because really what I wanted to bring to the group is the fact that the city council had that special meeting at the end of February where they discussed different options regarding the growth of the library. Really focusing on those new plans that will include a library at the city square together probably with a community center. And no final decision has been made. They are now moving to the next phase where they want to review proposals. And this was again discussed at the last council meeting, but again, looking at options at this time. I think that's the main thing that I got from those meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark kind of gave us an overview of that as well. So I guess I have an additional question, Mark. What would be brought back to the council in regards to the work order, and what will the council see first before they see schematics and that kind of stuff, or visual possibilities? Let me put it that way.
So if you recall back to the project where we developed the two concepts for the legacy facility and the two different layouts for the potential library move over there, it'll be a similar type of deliverable. So they'll go through Turner and Town that I'm talking about. We'll go through a public engagement phase where they'll gather all of this input, use that along with input that the board provides, that staff provides, to come up with these conceptual layouts that meet the scope of option 1, 2, and 3. And then those will be what is presented back to council sometime in early July. And so we're in a fairly, there's time to do this, but we're in a fairly tight timeline. And so there's going to be once we kick off the public engagement phase, there's gonna be some fast moving activity that occurs.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That's been my concern in going forward is the amount of time in order to get kind of information to if the decision is to put it on a bond, to get the information to the citizens so they can make an informed decision in November.
And I'll say about the timeline, and I'm not predicting this or trying to engineer the outcome by saying this, but if council at some point along that timeline decides it's not urgent that we have it on a November ballot, that changes the timeline.
Got it.
So the timeline we reverse engineered because we have to have a ballot measure into the county 90 days in advance of the election. And so that kind of sets your schedule, working backwards from that August 4th date. So
Yeah, thank you.
But Mark, my understanding is that that might not be necessary. There are options that don't require this to go on the ballot, right? In which case the timeline is a bit different.
Well, Mark, in response to that, Michael, aren't you having a workshop with the council about, funding options for not just this project, but other projects that may come down the road?
yeah, so let me address the workshop first, and then I'll backtrack, Michael, and address your question. Yes, we are having a workshop on March 25th with the council that will be here at City Hall. And we've planned for this workshop to be conducted at around this time since roughly last December. And we've been working to put the pieces of that together. And as Brad described, really the objective with that workshop is to start to get a better understanding and a more methodical approach to developing and delivering our capital program. Up to this point, it's been a bit haphazard. And so we want to bring some more structure to that. And part of that definitely includes financing options and strategically looking at how we're going to fund projects over the course of not only this capital facilities plan, which are 6-year time horizons, but multiple capital facilities plans over the next, say, 20 years. We've got to come up with some better strategies that we can deploy to make sure that projects are funded. And so that's the purpose of that workshop, at least to start that conversation. So Michael, back to your question, the answer is somewhat technical, but if council elects to, I'll use the word guarantee, the payment of the debt service on this project that would require a property tax increase, regardless of the amount, it would be required to be on a ballot. There are options that the council has that does not reach that level of guaranteedness that would not require a ballot measure. But if they're going to require that the debt service be guaranteed by essentially the full faith and credit of the city, it would require a ballot measure.
I have a question. Are we worried, if it did go on the measure in November I'm on Facebook, people are outraged over their, property taxes this year. Some people, said they went up 30%, 40%. I don't know how accurate that is, but are we worried that they're just going to have a bad taste from what we are, all currently kind of experiencing with the property taxes? But they're just gonna say no, and then we're back to ground zero.
I don't know if worried is the right descriptor. I mean, that's a reality. That's a potential outcome, for sure. Obviously that's always a potential outcome. And, part of what we would be doing in our outreach efforts is just kind of explaining the value. But that's contingent upon it being on the ballot. Yeah, it's definitely a consideration. Yeah. Because like I mentioned before, the 3 previous ballot measures have all gone down. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was only here I first moved into the city for the 2016 ballot and was a part of that discussion. And then and then the one right after that was put up right away. And that one basically was sprung on the citizens without really a whole lot of discussion about the second one. So and that one didn't even have a chance, but
So I'll put in a shameless plug at this point. If you want to learn more about how the city allocates resources, makes service delivery decisions, all of that kind of stuff, we're kicking off the next version of the City Academy on April 24th. This is an 8-week class where you go and learn about the fire department, the sewer and water district, the police department, the public works department, the budget, all of these kinds of things. And so if you're interested or know people who may be interested, let them know to look for it on our website. You can start to enroll probably later this week. I don't think we have the enrollment up yet, but it's coming. So class starts on April 24th. Say again.
What is the course called?
City Academy.
April
24th is the start.
yeah, that's a good thing
That's awesome.
for people to learn how different parts of the city operate and funding sources, that kind of thing. Mark, is the workshop open to the public? The
Yes.
funding source?
It'll be just like any other city council meeting. It's open to the public. Yep.
What's the
All right.
March 25th at 6 p.m.
I have another question. You mentioned something, Mark, about bonds. What does that mean exactly? Is that? Like, where's?
Well, I'll let Mark explain bonds. I'm not.
You want me to
real-
give
I'm
it a
not
go?
real good on
Yeah,
bonds.
sorry, you mentioned it. Yeah, no.
But anybody that's ever been participated in a school levy, in a school bond, they understand bonds.
So
I
it's a
participated in
levy,
them, but
Right?
but
not the
it's
levy,
different than a
not
levy.
Okay.
They're not the same.
Not a levy.
Yeah, so we would essentially go out and issue bonds for the amount of, some amount, relative to the price of the project.
Mhm.
And depending on the amount, the term, the interest rate, all of those variables, we would have a debt service, an amortization schedule of a payback, right? And so that amount, that annual amount, if that amount causes us to, if paying that amount causes us to have to guarantee that with a tax increase, that's what has to be on the ballot.
Oh.
We have a fairly, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we have a fairly large capacity for issuing debt without having to, increase taxes. Now, the council can elect to, to issue GO bonds with, even if we have that capacity. So it's fully within the council's discretion as to how they want to move forward. They haven't made that decision yet. That's one option of many options that are available. But we would essentially issue debt.
I just was wondering if it worked the same way it normally does, or if this was like a term that you guys interchange with levies. or-
No, levy is for operating expenses, like paying your staff. All of the things that come under the budget of operating expenses. A bond is your infrastructure in terms of buildings. So a bond would fund the development of, let's just say, the community center that had part of the library would be a part of. That would fund the building. The levy would be to pay for Jenny and all of the other things that would come under an operating expense. So that's the main two differences. So once you might be more familiar with school levies and school bonds because they come around much more often. The levy is to pay teachers' salaries and coaches and books and, well, not books anymore, computers. But your bond is to build new school buildings or tracks or the infrastructure.
Capital.
All right, thanks, Mark. Good stuff for us to know and understand. Okay, so now we are on to Friends, and that's me. That's a very short update on the Friends. except for tonight. It's been a big influx of new people in the Friends, which is fantastic, young people. And as a result, the Friends are holding a nice meeting this evening at Trailhead to welcome all these new members in to the Friends and get to know them and strengths and things that they're willing to use their talents to help the Friends do the things that they do to support the library. So it should be fun, and it'll be good to have meet all those people. It's hard to meet people in just a meeting. You want to come and you go, the business is done, and then they're out the door. So this gives an opportunity for a lot of interactions and things like that, and a fun game. So, and then they're busy working on two things: the book sale and the soiree. So got a few committees working very hard on their part of making the soiree happen, and then the book sale is just I won't say it takes care of itself because it's a lot of work leading up to it. We have a ton of books, and we are actually really, we have a lot of books, and storage space within the library is basically gone in order to do that. And actually where we hold the book sale is very small, and if you've ever attended, which maybe some of you have, it's very, very crowded in there in the very beginning hours, almost, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of the time. It's all like this looking for books, and people are very polite, and they all work together to make it happen really well. But it would be nice as we move forward and consider a new building that space grows for those kinds of activities to occur. And then, of course, the soiree is a great summer activity for our community, and that raises quite a bit of money for the Friends to be able to support the program and the other things that happen at the library. But that's been their main focus the last couple meetings, and it'll continue to be the focus until June. And then the soiree is July, whatever that second Wednesday is. I think it's July 14th. I'm not sure. It have to look to be exact this year. A lot of fun. And the book sale is the same weekend as the Kiwanis yard sale. So coincides with that. Pretty busy weekend. All right, and that's it for me. All right, Jandy, you are on.
Okay, so I have a couple of updates for you guys today. First off, my children's associate, Erin, who does our story times and a lot of our after school programs, is on leave for the next 8 weeks. She took an unexpected leave. So myself and Chelsea, who is our story time sub, are taking over our children's programming for the next 8 weeks, which has been fun. I normally do story times on Thursdays anyway, but now I'm doing Mondays as well. And then Miss Chelsea is doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And she's also going to be doing our after school programs for us in April and May. And then I'll be doing the Lego Club. We also have the Children's Academy preschool here in town. They are doing field trips this month. So we have 8 classes of preschoolers coming for story time and field trips during March.
You guys are busy.
Yes, it's very busy. I'm doing the field trips. So it's 8 field trips every Monday and Thursday, afternoon and morning. So we're busy this month.
How many days a week do you guys do the story time?
4 days a week.
Okay, man, somehow that got away from me. I thought it was only 2 days, but that's,
Yeah, 4.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The demand is there.
It is. It is. The parking lot is always crammed full.
Well, I know there are some people that are disappointed they don't get in. Basically, it's pretty full, so they have to come back on another day.
Yeah, everyone gets in, to the building.
Right. But
But
I-
yeah,
that
sometimes
was-
it's crammed and they just stay and do toys, or they're parking at the police station and so they're late.
Right,
Or they're parking down at, Scanalon or something next door.
right. That was not the right choice of words in. It's, yeah, they get there, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, wall to wall people. Yes, yes. And Miss Chelsea did bubbles today, which was a huge hit. They love it when we pull out the bubble machine. The next thing I had is, I've just purchased a training system for our staff. We had it in the budget for 2025 and it just came through today. It's by Ryan Dowd and his website is called Homelessness Training. But he does trainings on a variety of topics for staff. So we are starting with the homelessness training, but it's a whole module and gives us access to like dozens and dozens of classes. So our plan is to implement that once a quarter. So each quarter, the staff, we will do a training together and then, watch the training and then discuss afterwards. So that's something I'm excited for this year. The other thing, let me share my screen. I wanted to show you, and this is something that Michaela worked on and she did a phenomenal job. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Perfect. So this is our Aspen Leda catalog that we just implemented this past October. And one of the new features that it allows us to do is basically we can showcase other programs or databases or events that we have coming up at the library. So if you notice right here in the screen, I typed in the word French and it populates at the top of the search bar with our new Mango Languages app. So if someone is searching, intermediate Spanish, learn English for kids, French, it has over 70 languages. It will populate at the very top of the search bar with our Mango Languages app. So we're hoping that this feature will push more people to our databases. The other thing is that it also works for our Canopy streaming app. So if they type in a specific movie or a television show or something like that, it will populate that it is available on the Canopy streaming app, and then that gives them the ability to watch it instantly. Yes.
Is there a limited amount of licenses for both of these sites, or are they like unlimited?
We pay for our population,
Okay,
if that makes sense. So our population is 13,000.
for everyone to get one.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
very cool.
So the only, I guess the only limit is if they live in the valley or they live in the city of Spokane,
Okay.
they can't use ours, but both the county and the city have it as well. So we have, I had a person that I just set them up with Spokane County Library District just at the desk. So they're still able, most of our residents are still able to access it regardless of where they live. We're just, I guess, the last to the game as far as the county and the city have had it for a couple years now.
Right.
Yes. So we're just hoping to kind of be able to push more people to those databases and get our usage up. The other interesting thing I wanted to show you is Michaela has populated a few of these like read alike pages. So let me show you. So right now, The Women by Kristen Hannah is one of our most popular titles at the library. Our checkouts, our holds list for it is like 70 people on the list. We do have like 25 copies of the book within CIN, so, but it's still quite a wait. So she started making these read alike lists. So if you see along here, if you like The Women, you can click on this, and these are some other titles that you could read that are similar while you're waiting, that don't have as long of a wait list. So they can scroll through and see all of these books.
Who's reading them to see if they're alike?
So did Michaela put that all together?
Yes, Michaela put this all together.
That's great.
So, that's the benefit of Michaela being, along with the librarian, she's the cataloger. I don't have a background in cataloging, so she can do things like this that is not in my wheelhouse, so it's amazing. So I just wanted to show you guys that, because we've been very happy with this app and all of the new additional features that it's giving us. So we're really excited about that.
Very cool.
So that's everything that I had for my reports today.
All right. I like the things that Michaela did with that. That's really a cool thing that gives you other options to go to while you're waiting for your book, if you put it on hold or anything like that. That's great. Okay, so now we are on to the community needs assessment that was done in 2019 on the library. And so I'm gonna again defer to Jandy. She has some things that she would like us to review within this document. So I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read through the document. There are some things that are outdated, but there are a lot of things that are still valid and worthy of note as we move forward in discussing the design of a new library or an updated library. So, Jandy, you're on.
Okay, sharing my screen again. So I had a couple of things I wanted to point out, and then I thought we could go around the room and share other things that have stood out to us as we were reading the assessment during your interviews and then over the last few months. So the first thing I wanted to point out, so this is our library community needs or community. I call it the community needs assessment, but I guess now that I'm seeing on the screen, community and facility assessment and recommendations. So this was completed by Kimberly Bowen and Associates in 2019. I was a children's librarian at the time. I was involved in some of the assessment, but not as intimately as the library director was at the time. We chose Kimberly Bowen and Associates because they had a background in libraries specifically. Their two main people who were on our team were both had been former librarians for many years. So that's why we selected them as our consultants. Basically, they spent a couple months with us. They did some staff. They did, a bunch of different surveys with staff and with the community. They met with a lot of different community groups and partnerships to get, bring everyone to the table. Something that I really wanted to point out is they did an online survey in 2019 and we had 479 survey responses, which was amazing. They said at the time no other city survey had garnered that much response. 479. I think 350 of them were guaranteed Liberty Lake residents. And then we had an additional like 110 that were either didn't list where they were from or specify the valley or city of Spokane. I still value those responses because we do have lots of users to the library who are not Liberty Lake residents, and I think their input is just as valid to me as a director. But with our community survey that we did this past August, we had 516 responses. So my goal had been to beat the 479, and we did it at like 40. So I was very pleased by that. So some other points that I wanted to point out to you is they did do a lot of demographic work that was, with the 2010 census. So some of that is probably a little bit outdated, but we still, find it valuable. Something that I always like to point out from the survey is that they did comparisons with other libraries and other cities of our size, and it was found that Liberty Lake excels at programming, and that the programming we do for our community is above and beyond what other communities do that have, a higher income and have more money. So that's something that I'm really proud of as a children's librarian, is how well we do with programming and how much our community appreciates it and, uses the library for those. We had a partnership with the kindergarten center for about 5 years, and something that the kindergarten teacher would always tell me is, I love doing Lego Club and I love doing, arts and crafts here at the library because it gets the families into the library, and then maybe when they leave, they'll check out a book. And she worked with a lot of the Title I students in the community. And so she says, I just want them reading. I don't care what book they're reading. I don't care if they're reading the cereal box. I just want them to practice their reading. So that's something that has always stuck out to me, is like getting people into the library for other things besides books can also lead them to, you know, checking out books as well, or getting that library card. So, Liberty Lake, I'm sorry, I'm gonna read the page. Liberty Lake clearly excels at programming. Liberty Lake is providing more programs and getting better attendance than comparison libraries. And, the program attendance represents about 16% of our library visits.
I like that comparison.
Yes,
Almost double other libraries like us.
yes. So the other thing I wanted to point out is, so after they did a facility space needs assessment. So they looked at the floor plan of the library and they gave us recommendations on, in the short term, how we could improve our library until someday when we get a new larger facility. So the thing that I wanted to point out from that, let me scroll down, it's on page 23. So I kind of wanted to update you guys on what the short-term recommendations were and how many of them we have completed since 2019. So Kimberly Bullen presented this to the city council in January 2020. Of course, 2 months before the pandemic started. So I feel like there's a perception by the community or the council that we haven't done anything with this assessment. It was COVID and we just, you know, threw it in the trash or something. I know they don't think that, but I wanted to kind of point out what short-term recommendations that we have completed to improve our library in the meantime. So these were the short-term building recommendations. So too much of the library space is currently allocated to shelving books that are not circulating. Sections to look at are the nonfiction section, the teen section, and to a lesser degree, the 3 and older fiction. So during the pandemic, we did do a large weed. The library was closed to the public for an entire year. We were, you know, doing Holt pickup and our book butler program during that time. So we were getting books out to people, but nobody could come in the library. So the staff did have more time on their hands than they normally would. So we did do a weed of our nonfiction section, our teen section, and our picture book section during that time. They said if we, you know, weed down some of our materials, we can do more face out merchandising and work on highlighting other books in our collection. So we did reduce down some of our collection. And so now on each shelf in the library, we do have a book stand where we can highlight a book. And so each day staff will go through as we're shelving. And if there's not one book facing out on the collection, we will highlight those books. It's one of those things where, you know, you can judge the book by the cover and get some books taken out, get some additional materials taken out that maybe people wouldn't notice. It talked about improving the shelving arrangement and narrowing some of the aisles that were a little bit wider in the adult section. We have not done that because our shelves are not easily movable. So we have not narrowed any of our shelving aisles at this point. The next recommendation was to move down the number of service points that we had. So in 2019, we had our checkout desk. We had our information desk or our reference desk sorry, I'm like gesturing where I visualize it on the wall. But where we have our computer stations now, we had an info desk. And then back in the kids' room was my children's desk that was right outside the glass doors. So technically we had 3 service points that we were trying to staff as much as possible. It was my desk, so I was just always there, like that's where I sat. But we reduced it down to 1 service point. So we just have the checkout desk. That is the point, that's the desk where someone's always staffed and the people can come up and ask questions. So that's one of the recommendations that they had, is to not having to have 3 staff staffing 3 different desks at all times. So that would kind of improve some of our efficiencies. For adults, add more comfortable seating, flexible tables, and chairs. During the pandemic, we did go in and add a lot more flexible tables and chairs. Prior to in 2019, we had one of those kind of large looking restaurant booths. So we had two of those in the, what we call the teen section, but they were not movable and they were not easily accessed to power. No, they were just big, huge booths. And so during the pandemic, we got rid of those and got the movable caster tables and chairs that you'll see back there now. So we have four of those tables and then 2 chairs at each of those stations. Obviously, we also did that during the pandemic because they are easily wipeable. We did have some of those like material upholstered comfy chairs, and obviously those are not easily cleaned or wipeable for, you know, germs, but also little kids that might have an accident or their tummy hurts or something. So we got rid of a lot of our like upholstered seating during COVID. This past year, as you know, with our community survey that we did, one of the number 1 feedbacks we got was there's not enough soft seating in the library. So this past fall, we purchased 3 new armchairs. All of them have the power on the side of the armrest so that people can plug in a laptop, they can plug in their phone. That's another piece of feedback that we always get, is that there isn't enough places to plug in for power because, you know, our building is from the 80s or the 90s when not everyone was glued to their laptop and glued to their phone 24/7. So we have those 3 new chairs that are comfortable and also have power. And then back in the kids' room, we got a new larger kids couch that came in January that is wipeable, but is kind of like a love seat size. And then we have the shorter, soft love seat, shorter little benches that go around it, so it makes a big circle. And then we got 2 new rocking chairs, but they look very modern. They're very modern rocking chairs. They don't have arms or anything, but they're all wipeable and they are adult sized. So we have the adult sized couch and the 2 adult sized rocking chairs. Prior to that, with the little blue bench that we had, it was like kids height. So some of our older patrons and adults didn't love having to like squat down to sit on those. So now we have comfortable seating for all ages. So, let's see. The other recommendations, let's see, was the study room. Is that what's next? Okay, so this talks about converting all of our shelving to lower height shelving that is easier for people to see over for security reasons, but also is on the caster rollings so that you can move the collection around. This is not something that we have taken on yet, but that was another recommendation that they gave us.
Was that a suggestion for all of the?
So it was for the adult collection,
Okay.
because as you know, when you walk in, they're like the very high eight height shelves, 8-foot high shelves. I can't talk today. So that was the recommendation for the adult collection.
There's a lot of books.
Yes, it's a lot of books. Each of the shelves cost about $3,000, and that was in 2019, so they're probably more. But they were talking about it would make it movable so that you can move it back if you're doing like a big Halloween party. And it would also be lower for like security reasons because you can't really see the back of the library from the front of the library because of those shelves. But because of cost and, you know, us constantly kind of working on a new library project, it's not something that we have invested in at this point. Let's see. So the next thing was converting the learning center into a study room. So in 2019, the study room was called the Learning Center, and it had like 8 or 10 computers in it, and it was basically a computer lab. So we did use it for some of our programming, but then also patrons could come in and use it to, you know, work in the library, use the Wi-Fi, job searching, all that type of stuff.
So just a clarification, this
Yeah.
is the room, as you come in by the service desk
Yes.
over in the corner.
Yes, so it's in the back corner, our study room. So they recommended that we change it from a computer lab into a study room that people could reserve. So the end of 2021, we completed that project. We repainted it because it was a very, very dark blue and looked like a cave. Very dark, and so we painted it a very stark white, so it's a lot brighter in there. We set it up with a very large table that can accommodate 8, and it has the power strips in the top of it. So it can accommodate, 8 laptops, 4 phones, that type of thing. So it gives the ability to plug in and use the power. And then we have it set up, with a TV screen, a whiteboard, and, HDMI cables so that people can hook up their laptops and give presentations and that sort of thing. So we made it into a traditional study room. So that was one of their recommendations, so that people can, reserve the room, but also for us, it was another thing where this is another place we can give people power, that we didn't have power. So, I need to be able to plug in my phone, I need to be able to plug in my laptop. Hey, why don't you come into our study room? You can plug in there, really easily and use your devices. So that's something that we have been doing since the end, was it 2020? I believe it was 2021. Double check. Either way, it has been completed. It was a recommendation, it's been completed. And it is highly, highly used. We will have 5 or 6 reservations in that room all day long. So it is not sitting as an empty room. And that's why our recommendation with the new library is to have 4 or 5 study rooms, because we will fill it. The last thing was to make our back meeting room accessible after hours. So we do have a key that people can check out at the front desk, and we do have groups who use it weekly, who will check out the key. They can have their meeting at 7 p.m. after the library is used, after the library is closed, and have access to our meeting room. If you remember, in the kids' room, we have those glass doors, and so we are able to lock it so that patrons do not have access to the rest of the library, but they'll have access to the meeting room, and then they also have access to the family restroom that's right next door to the meeting room. So it gives our community the ability to use the library meeting room during non-traditional hours, and we can still provide that access to people.
So they have access to the kids area as well then, because the bathroom is right there.
Yeah, so they have access to the picture books,
Okay.
but we want them to have access to the bathroom,
Right, right.
obviously, and we have not had any issues.
But those are things for us to really, that already were considered in the remodel, but but we'll have to really consider in
Yeah,
the new building.
Yeah, with the new building, in both of the plans at the Legacy Church, we had it so, there was access to both the meeting rooms and then a family restroom, and it was kind of like a foyer area, so they didn't have access to anything else in the library. It just had those glass doors that could be closed. So that's an improvement that we want to obviously continue in this newest design of the library. So those were kind of the short-term recommendations that I wanted to point out to you guys. Let's see, this was just reduce the number of fixed PC stations. So at the time we had 8 computers that were available for people to use. We've reduced that down to 4. They recommended having laptops that people could check out. We did have that for a couple of years, but weren't getting a lot of usage for inside of the library. So the idea was that they could check out a laptop and use it inside of the library. That didn't get a lot of usage, but our laptops that can check out and go home with you do get a lot of usage. So we've kind of twisted that to what seems to work for our community. And so those laptops are always gone. They come with a laptop and a hotspot. So if they don't have Wi-Fi, they're able to use their laptop and the Wi-Fi. And then make power and charging points readily available in all areas where people sit and use technology. This has been our biggest challenge, but we have conquered it better this year with buying those armchairs that have power in them. So it's just tricky because within the library, we have all this shelving, and so there is some power behind the shelving, but obviously that's not easily accessed. So those armchairs have helped with that. So now back in the YA area where all of our people generally sit, we now have access along one of the walls. So it's better than it was. With the new library, I'll be like, when in doubt, add an outlet. Every inch power. That'll just be our carpet. It's just power outlets. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you guys from the community needs assessment. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to point out, that stuck out to you as you were reading the assessment?
Well, I would just like to say the document has been very useful in making the current library a little bit more usable in terms of technology as technology become a more prominent part of people's lives, which we have done, but still, as we grow, it's going to get bigger, which is why we still need to really consider a bigger, newer library, and hopefully we can get our community to understand that. And I mean, like Jandy's gone through, the recommendations have been very successful. The meeting space has been used, like she said, continually. I think I've seen a lot of people sitting in those. I've sat in them myself, so I've won. Those chairs were a nice improvement for seating. So things like that. The document has been very, very useful. And I'm just going to point out, if you look at the recommendations for a new or expanded library, I think those recommendations are really things that, as we look at designing a new library, that we really consider going forward, like 4 to 6 study rooms, increased space for youth. Michaela's done a super job of getting high school and middle school kids into a youth kind of, I won't
Teen
call it,
Tuesdays.
huh?
Teen Tuesdays.
Thank you.
Yes.
The team group, for it, they're great. They've been very helpful with a lot of activities. So, you know, I think those are always great. I think another one on here is a drop off for books, and the current book drop off. There are times that thing is overflowing. I mean, the books are falling out on the floor. The workspace is not big enough to accommodate all the things that have to occur in that area. So I just think going forward, this document has some really valuable suggestions. And maybe the demographic part of it might not be up to date, because I think this basically is a little bit short on the projected build out. I think our projected build out is a little bit bigger than what this document had in it. So, as having said that, if we might be looking at needing a library on the bigger end of their suggestion rather than on the shorter end, 16 to 19,000. I think we might be on the 19,000 side rather than the 16,000 side, looking at full build out. That's my opinion.
I do think that, when I've reviewed that, I spent more time looking at those recommendations myself. And I think coupling the recommendations that were made in 2019 with all the data you've shared with us about usage and programming and access to things, I think that gives us a really nice starting point when we think about the kinds of spaces and the size of those spaces and the kinds of access and seating and all of those things that will be needed.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Michael, you have a comment?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, Jandy, if we can be maybe a little bit more specific around this plan and maybe kind of take some bullet points out of it and then put them in kind of buckets. Like one will be what has been achieved so far, and create a separate document and say, okay, we did this, and then the recommendations from there to take them into like, those are the needs and those are the wants, like this we really need because of this.
Mhm.
And then, you know, we want 19,000, we want 16,000. And I think for that section to really be able to connect with some of the activities, like if we say we really need 19,000, to point out exactly we will have, you know, bigger room for the events or so, but again, be more specific in terms of why that request. I know this makes sense, but that's my thought about this. Yeah, this is a long document. You know, if you give it to somebody to read, that you can get lost into it because there's so many good recommendations there. But let's get it more granular and.
Yeah, I think those are good suggestions, especially the separate documents for what has been achieved, what was are recommended for the current building, what has been achieved with the current building, and then having a comparison to what is recommended for a future build out, and then, I guess.
Showing how we can use the extra space and why.
Right, supporting how those recommendations, are needed based on what was current.
Based on the current data we have.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will look at like we could do this with this extra space, which is kind of an expansion of the current program. So I can have a bigger, I don't know, right, story time where we have a waiting list. Now we can accommodate maybe more people, or we could do those new programs if we're there. Because I think, you know, both city council and you know the citizens will want to see this type of very specific proposals, because I see that a lot. Like right now, it's like, well, why do we need 13,000? Why do we need 15,000? Why do we need 19,000? What can we do with the extra? Because you have there's a lot of good reasons there. We just need to put them on a different document and formulate it that way.
No, I would agree. And part of the, I want to say part of the problem of trying to get people to realize the need for a bigger building is that they come into the current library and it's great for what they see until you have a bunch of kids and moms that are trying to schedule themselves for a program that they can't get into, or some other activity like Halloween, where people are standing out and for the Halloween thing that we offer, they're out the door and trying to get in and those kinds of things. But I think so they see all those things most of the time working well. And it's basically because we have a great staff who has worked very hard at making these accommodations that were given by the recommendations here to make it better for our citizens. But hopefully we can, by your recommendations, Michael, show them that, okay, it might look great now, but in the future, if we don't act, it's not gonna be so wonderful.
And the other part of it is
Showing them what they can get for their investment,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
what we can give you if we have more space.
Right.
It won't just be an empty building.
And then parking, I don't know if this has been addressed, but like I took a photo at one point, it was Wednesday morning and then the parking lot was like full. I assume we had some activity or so. Like as we grow, you know, and our programs grow, like what type of parking are we going to need? I don't know if this has been part of the discussion or not, but we're not as walkable as I would like the city to be at this time. So we still rely on vehicles to get to the library.
No, the parking thing is huge. Yeah.
Yes, we were talking about that right when the meeting started, Michael. How during story time, Monday through Thursday, the parking lot is just full from 10 to 11:30.
Well, it's a good thing there's an empty parking lot across the street.
Yes.
I have parked in that several times coming to the activities that are there and walked
Yeah.
across the street.
At
Down the
I-10
swell and
stand.
up. Yeah. So, yeah. Anybody have any other comments in regards to the community assessment? Okay, Jan, do you have anything else?
So the last thing I wanted to bring up is, we've been talking about doing the trustee training, in April. If Barb is, confirmed by the council, she'll be our newest trustee member, and she's gonna be out of the country in April. And obviously I would like her to be able to attend so that we can all do the trustee training together.
April 8th. So if you did it before April 8th, which is kind of pushing it, I get it.
Yeah.
I would be here.
Okay, so I have reached out to, Jeannie, who's the trustee, representative from the state library. And, I was wanting to look at the week of May 12th. So I can send that to you guys, in email and give you a chance to check your schedules. But that was the new week that I was gonna propose. It's one of those things where it's hard to plan that far ahead. But if you guys can look at that week and let me know what your availability would be, that would be wonderful.
Jan, would you still be looking at an evening or would it be an afternoon?
Whatever you guys' availability is.
Well, I'm looking at if we did it that week, the 14th, we already have a meeting here.
Mhm.
If we all could hop right over and. go to
That could be an option if you guys were available to do our trustee meeting and then go straight into the board meeting. It just depends on what everyone's availability is.
I would be available for that on the 14th. If we did this board meeting and then went into the training.
I could make myself available.
I can make it work on the 14th.
So can I,
Barb, how are you on the 14th?
should be good.
Good.
I'll be brain dead, but I think it should be.
Got it.
Could you check on that, Michael, and get back to me? I know your schedule's a little bit trickier to plan ahead.
Most likely, yes, I will cross-check on that, but yeah, I think it's gonna work.
I'll put that as tentative for May 14th. Okay. Okay, and so let's see, our next board meeting will be April 9th at 1 p.m. So do we have anyone on Zoom or in council chambers that would like to make a citizen comment? Now is your chance. Okay,
I think we're good.
yeah, I don't have anyone else on Zoom.
All right, super. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
second.
All right, good. We're seconding. Everybody okay with that? Raise your hand. We are good. All right, thank you everyone for being here and we'll
See you next
see you
month.
next month.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.